Welcome out, John. So in today's video we are going to be going into Michael's like we do sometimes, and we're going to go find supplies to make a D-0. Airplane. So there's no spoilers, though I'm not going to talk about the movie itself, but I would like to know, what is your favorite Star Wars character or characters if you can't pick one, because I'm one of those people, I cannot pick one favorite. I just can't do it. My heart just can't do it. So my 3 favorite characters, if you would like to know. I love Darth Vader. I don't know why, I just love Darth Vader. I also love K2SO. Probably, if I had to pick, K2 would probably be my favorite. I don't know, but I love K2SO. And I also love Kylo Ren. We're gonna go into Michael's. We're gonna see if we can find things to make BO, like a figure, I guess is what I'm trying to make. I don't actually know. I don't know what my plan is. I have some ideas of how I'm going to do it, but also, just so you know, I'm not going to buy every single supply I need here, because I'm a crafter, artist, body painter. I'm not going to buy everything here. So of course I'm going to need to use paints. I have paints. I'm not going to buy paints unless I just really, really have to, because sometimes I'm a little bit addicted to art supplies. But if I'm going to use clay, I have clay. If I'm going to be using glue, I have glue, things like that. Scissors, I have scissors. I'm not going to be buying every single supply, but this will help you get an idea of the uncommon objects that I need to buy to make a D-0, I guess. I'm assuming. I guess I don't really know what I'm going to be doing. That's to be determined, but hopefully we can get this to work. Anyways, let's go. So I need something around wood. Hopefully you can hear me, I'm whispering. This actually might work, because if I put them together this, if I was to glue them together, and this could be the wheel and this could be the detailing on the side, this might work. You know what, I think I'm gonna go this route. Not what I was expecting. Look at how perfect, actually. Ooh, I'm kind of excited about this idea. It's always a good idea to check the clearance in case there's anything here that you can use to make things. What is this? Okay, this is the perfect shape for his head. Is it the perfect shape for these wheels though? That's the perfect shape. So I might get this. It's $2.99. Hoping that the wheel shape is enough, because I don't have anything to cut this. If not, then I'm gonna have to try and find a smaller one. Looks like maybe that's the smallest one they have. They have bigger ones. I might need to put a layer of clay around it to just be able to sculpt onto it and paint it easier. But then it being lightweight, it'll sit easier on top of the wheels. So we'll see how the size comparison is, and then I'll go from there. So technically that's not going to be quite big enough. Looks like it might be too... Oh, wait. Oh, is that too big though? It started getting really busy in there, so it got harder to film, but I did buy the wooden round pieces that I'm going to glue together, which obviously you'll see all this, but just a rundown. I also got that foam piece. I got a wooden stick that I'm going to cut to make some of those other things. I'm going to be using clay, which I already have. Ooh, I'm out of breath. I also got another wooden block for the base of his head. I don't know. We'll see. We'll put it all together. May the 4th be with you, everyone. Happy May 4th. Alright, so anyways, I am going to be showing you what I did purchase at Michael's and what I'm just going to be using in general that I didn't purchase. So I got the 2 wooden rounds. I got a wooden rectangle piece, or square piece maybe, and then I got the styrofoam triangle top thing, and a little wooden stick that I'm going to be breaking up. And then I'm also going to be using E6000 glue, a painter's palette, some paint brushes, some acrylic paint in black, white, 2 different greens and 2 different browns, and also some model magic. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually glue the wooden rounds together. So I'm taking the E6000 glue, sticking them together, and letting that dry. I needed to make a temporary little stand to make sure that when I'm not holding it, it will stand up. So I took some of that Model Magic, made it into a circle, squished it down, and kind of squared it out and let it dry, and then painted it black. So the first main thing I'm going to be doing is actually painting the wooden rounds white. So I'm taking some white acrylic paint and I'm going to be putting it on the entire thing, and I'm going to add about 2 to 3 layers just to make sure that it is coated and pretty much primed enough. Then I'm taking some black acrylic paint and I'm going to be going around the edges of that first end of a circle. I don't know, there's like different grooves, so before the first groove in it, I'm adding a black line around it. That wasn't easy to do. Next I'm taking that acrylic paint and I'm going to be adding a circle just somewhere on there towards the top of the circle, wherever the top is for you. And I'm going to be going back and forth between black and white to kind of just make gradients and shadows and so on and so forth. I'm not going to go into complete depth of what I did because you can kind of see what I'm doing, and it's also just hard to explain. Next I'm going to be adding the lines that go across. There's going to be 5 of them, and I did not make them perfectly straight. He's kind of a beat up droid, so I wasn't worried about it, but if you wanted to make them perfectly straight, you could always get another piece of paper or a ruler and do that. I also want to apologize if you guys can hear any noise in the background. Everybody's in quarantine right now, nobody's working, there's so much noise going on in the background. I waited and waited and waited, and there's still noise, so we're just gonna have to deal with it. But anyways, and again I'm dipping in between the black and the white, and then also mixing a little bit of them together to make it gray, and kind of just shadowing and shading. And like I said, in the middle of each of them, or I think I said, I'm adding a like black rectangle, small one. It almost is like a vent, maybe. I'm not really sure what his mechanism is. I'm just kind of looking at a reference photo and going with it. And like I said, there are 5 of them, so repeating the whole process. I'm taking the black acrylic paint and I'm going to be going and adding these lines. I don't know, he has panels, different panels, so I'm adding lines to separate the panels, and I'm taking black and filling in that top little square section. Hopefully my explaining isn't too vague or bad to follow. I don't know. The next thing I did is I mixed the 2 greens that I had, and I made a like earthy green color because that's kind of what he has on him. I don't know. It is not that opaque, so I had to add a few layers of that. The next thing I did is he's a little rusty, a little dirty, so I went ahead and mixed the 2 brown colors I had in with some white, and then I used a sponge to just dab it around to give it that dirty, rusty kind of a look. After that, I did the tedious task of taking green into that one little groove on the edge and filling it in with green. Once that's done, on the groove in between those, I am going to be adding these, like, I don't know what they are, but they're the little details that he has. If you look at a reference photo of him, maybe you can tell me what they are, but whatever that detail is, went ahead and made that in that groove, fill it in with black and white, kind of made it a gray for the most part, you know, that's what I did. And then, of course, I took that sponge and some brown again and just added some more rust and dirt all over. The next thing I wanted to do was fill in the tracks on his wheel, so I took black and just, you know, made lines, and then took some white and blended the color down. I don't know if this looks good or not, but that's what I did. Then I flipped it over to start the other side. So the other side's kind of the same. So I went ahead and added the circle. Oh my goodness. I just realized what I didn't do on this one. I was supposed to add the circle around the outside like I did the first one. And I'm not... Anyway, so I made the circle, and then I went ahead and kind of mapped out the design on this side. It's a little different because this is where his connector part that leads to his head is. So you can see me kind of mapping out the panels of this one, then filling in the biggest section with black. And then he has the same like vents on the side, so I added those in as well, and these ones are even more crooked than the first ones, if you can believe that. But of course dipping back into white and black back and forth, adding shadows and shades, and kind of making it look a little bit better than it did when I first put them down. Then of course going into green and filling in the side sections again. And then adding green on the edges. And then adding those weird panel things again around the edges of that one flap. I still can't believe I forgot the outline around the edge. And why did I just now notice it? So then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be taking some of that same brown and the same sponge, and I'm going to be adding more rust and dirt. Now this is me trying to determine how big I needed the stick to be to add the, you know, the mechanism that attaches his head, but I kind of measured from the wrong spot. For some reason I measured it from that circle when really it connects to that black panel. So whoops, but I made it work. So I cut it off, broke a piece, and I covered it in clay, and then I made little clay pieces. I made 2 little rectangles and squished them on the end, and then got 2 little white pieces and put them on the end of that, and I glued them together. And then once that's good and ready, I went ahead and glued it to the base. And as you can see, it's a little bit shorter than it should be, but I'm gonna make it work. The next thing I'm gonna do is actually make 2 of these little, like, what I would call when I was a kid, snakes when you're playing with Play-Doh. And I'm going to make 2 of them because they're gonna be the wires. And then I made 2 little round balls, and then I glued them onto the tops of those circles. And while all of that's drying, glue, clay, everything, I went ahead and took white acrylic paint and painted the base where his head's gonna go. And flipped it around to the bottom. I used black to make a square. After that, I did take black and paint the little worms because they needed to be painted black. Then I made this little piece because I realized that I needed to add this little detail where the wires go in between it, so I glued that. The next thing I did is I actually took gray and went around the edges of the part where the head's gonna go. And then of course I took some more brown and that sponge and just messed everything up some more, made it look nice and rusty. Once the glue has dried on all the rest of the stuff, I put some glue on the top of that clay and then stuck the base on top of that. And if you can kind of see, I also took some of the stick I had and broke pieces off of it and painted them black and stuck them underneath as well on the other side to give it some more support, because obviously just having support on one side would cause it to droop. I didn't want it to droop. So this angle is kind of crappy, but you can kind of see here that I'm painting gray onto some of the pieces on that little stand that's going to the head, and as you can see I kind of forgot to film part of it, but you get the rough idea of what I did there. Then I'm going to take those little wormy things that I had, the wires, and I'm going to be sticking them inside that gray piece, and I'm going to be gluing them to the top and to the bottom, and I'm going to be twisting them in and out of each other. Here's a better look at what I did since I had a really bad angle. So the next thing I'm going to do is work on the head, so I took that foam piece and some Model Magic, and I'm going to roll out the Model Magic and then roll it around that foam piece and kind of smooth it out with my hands. Then I'm going to take a little toothpick and I'm going to be adding the details on it, so I'm separating where that green piece is, adding the vents to the nose, and then where his, I'm going to assume, eyes are. I call them his eyes, I don't know what it is. And then there's also this weird, like, I don't know, springy, it's not springy, it's like rubbery thing that he has that attaches from that base to his head. So I'm using Model Magic to make that as well, and I'm going to make a square, and then I'm going to use that toothpick to add the lines that go all the way around it. And then I'm also going to be making 3 really long skinny wormies because they're going to be sticking out of his head. The next thing I'm going to do is paint that middle piece. I'm going to be painting it black. And then I'm going to take some E6000 glue and glue it onto the middle of that base part. The next thing I'm going to do is actually paint the head. So I started off by painting it white. I know it's already white, but I wanted it to be a brighter white. And then I'm going to be going into some black and adding the details of his eyes, as well as some like little smudge marks on him, as well as taking that same brown and adding the rust and dirt all over him. And then I'm going to go into some of that green that I had mixed up and fill in his nose. Then going back into the black, I'm going to be filling in some more little details here and there, including the back of his head. After that, I'm going to glue his head on. And other than sticking in those little pieces on the back of his head, which, because it's just Model Magic and foam, I was able to just poke them on in and they just stick. You are done, and this is your D-0. I had a lot of fun making him. I think it turned out pretty well. I'm a little disappointed that his head is a little smaller than it's supposed to be, but hopefully you guys still like him. I, again, had a lot of fun making him. If you guys would like to see any other videos like this, aside from walking around in the store, because you can't do that right now, be sure to let me know. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Give me any other ideas on other art-related projects, and I shall see you guys next time. Bye!